Okay, so as I mentioned in the previous video, the intake manifold's off. And I've just got to do some cleaning up in here. I put these rags in just to stop anything getting into the engine itself. And the job for today is going to be removing the exhaust manifold. And this also is a bit of a concern, as that is asbestos apparently. So I'm going to wet that down and take it out, and then have a bit of a look on the DeLorean store to see if we can get a replacement or whether I just have to get something made up. Throttle spool just sort of floating around now that the manifold's out, and it's a little bit hard to see. You can probably see a little bit on this side. There is the manifold on one side, and the other one is down, right down in there. So it's going to be interesting. As you can see, there's not a lot of room down there. That's the edge of the manifold there. You can just see that bit there. And this is the frame of the car. So there's not a lot of room to get any tools in there. First job I always do is have a bit of a tidy up before I start working. So I'm going to get all my spanners back to where they should be, and all my sockets. You see there's a couple missing, and my socket set over here, just so I know where everything is and I'm not fighting trying to find stuff all the time. So we'll do that first. Spanners everywhere, and then we'll get to working on that exhaust manifold. And just like magic, all the spanners are back where they need to be. Small sockets and big sockets. One thing I did notice when I was tidying up is I seem to have a lot of these, but I have actually used them a lot actually. And working on such a tight, cramped car, you can never have too many. Some of those I actually borrowed off my dad, so I do need to give those back. Another small issue that I'm looking at here as well is this belt is rubbing on this pulley. You can see the line here where it's been rubbing, and I think it's because this pulley subassembly here needs to come out further. And in hindsight, when I replaced this pulley, I should have done this one as well, and I will do this one before the car's finished. So I don't know why I just did the one. This one didn't feel as bad when I first changed this one out, but it does make sense. If you're going to do one, you might as well do both. So, but I think I'm going to have to put some spacers in behind this bracket up in here just to bring it out a little bit away from this pulley. That was some really bad camera work. It is really hard to describe what you're doing and point and aim the camera as well, so I apologise for that. First thing I'm going to do is climb under the car and have a look at this mess. And what I'm hoping, again sorry about the camera work, what I'm hoping, there we go, we can see the muffler up there. I might just turn the light on, one moment, much better. What I'm hoping is, because I know that these stud heads, or the nuts on the studs, are just going to strip. I know that, because that's what DeLorean's do. So what I'm hoping is that because on each one they've only used two, so 1, 2, if I get this plug out the way, which probably shouldn't be flapping around either, it should probably be plugged into something. Worry about that later. Sorry. Get that out of the way. Right. Where was I? If I can get that in there so you can see what I'm talking about. So they've used 1, 2, and then they've left 3 and up there 4. What I'm hoping when I get this thing off is that these holes are threaded, and then when I order the new kit which comes with studs, because these are going to snap off and I'm never going to get them out, I can just use the other two holes that they haven't previously used. So I'll have a bit more of a look into that once I get this off. But I wonder if I might even be able to see in there. Might have a quick look in a moment. So the plan is get all those bolts undone and get the nuts off the studs. And then up here there should be, if I can manoeuvre without the car falling on me and killing me, there should be that, which as you can see there's already one bolt missing, so there should be one on the other side. Once I undo those two bolts and all those studs, this should just come off, hopefully. But as you can see again, there's not a lot of room, so that's the edge of the manifold and that's the frame there. And I'm just sort of poking the phone in, I can't actually see that. I can't get my head into a position. So yeah, we'll see what we can see. First thing I will do though is I'll just check those stud holes and see if they are threaded, and then I'll see if I can find a socket and start working on those nuts.
A few moments later.
So I can't tell. I've had a good look and it's really hard to see in there. One thing I did notice though is this one looks like it's got a screw in it. So I'm not sure what that's about. I might have to just check on the forums as to whether I can use those. I mean, I can always tap and thread them myself, but so that one's got something in it there as well. Couldn't see that without the camera, so I may not be able to use those, which is going to be a pain because, like I said, these are going to snap. Anyway, I found out that those are an 11mm nut, and I have here some penetrate. This is, I don't know if you get this in America or wherever you're watching from, but it's pretty much the same as WD-40 or any of those. This stuff is supposed to be higher viscosity. So the idea is that it can get into all the nooks and crannies and really penetrate in. I don't know if it's any better than WD-40, mainly because any time I've ever used it the bolts have just snapped anyway, so yay for working on DeLorean's. So, well, I've already given these a bit of a soak during the week before I started this job, but I'll give them a bit more of a soak. And see if I can get a spanner on them and take it from there. Have a bucket to catch the leaks. So I'll just finish doing those up, and well, I'll finish lubricating those and then I'll start trying to undo those, or that bolt in there.
12 seconds later.
Well, I found one of my exhaust leaks already, even before pulling the manifold off, and you can actually see, or hopefully you can see, that there is a gap between the manifold and the exhaust pipe. It's kind of hard to see, but you can actually see there where it's not lined up. So that's the exhaust pipe header, I guess you'd call it there, and that's the end of the exhaust manifold, and you can see the gap, and you can even see the gasket there. So there's a gap all the way around of about 1/4 of an inch. Don't know if you can see anything there, possibly, maybe not. So that's not going to be helping. And obviously the stud or the bolt is nicely rusted in there, so that's going to take a bit of getting out. But I figure I'll concentrate on getting the actual manifold off anyway. Another thing I noticed that I hadn't noticed before when I was under here is I'll need to find out what, where is it, that does there, and also this. I was wondering if that's maybe the oil sender or something along those lines. Either way, there should definitely be something plugged into it, but there's not, so yay. Oh, onto these bolts.
Few inches later.
Well, this is surprising, if not a little bit worrying. The small socket sorry, the small ratchet, that one there, just didn't have the torque for it. So I grabbed the big boy and just put my extension on it. Don't ask how I'm going to get that extension down there. I'm going to have to use the universal or something. But this first one seems to be coming off really easily. So with a bit of luck, maybe it won't be as big a job as I thought it was after all.
One eternity later.
Well, all the nuts are out. As you can see, one of the studs came out too. And one of them did strip. Well, it wasn't too bad. The thread was okay, but the actual, I don't even know what you'd call that part of the nut. The bit where the ratchet or the spanner grips it anyway, stripped a little bit. But I was lucky enough I could get a slightly smaller socket onto it. And after a lot of effort, I managed to get it off. So all the studs are now loose, or rather the nuts are off the studs anyway. So now it's just a case of getting the manifold out. Lucky that my inspection lamp here is drop proof, because it's been dropped so many times in the last half an hour or so. So hopefully this should just pop off. Famous last words.
Eventually.
Well, it didn't just pop off. As you can see, it's still there. And I found that is because, if we can see down there, even though those bolts are broken to the, there we go, even though those bolts are broken where the manifold connects to the exhaust pipe header, there is still a bolt in there, and it does go all the way through. And there's a bolt head on the other side. So I'm going to have a break for a bit. I might even pick this up tomorrow, so I've got a few other things I need to get onto today. But that's how it goes.